What it is, what's happening? Yeah, all wet and dirty. Had to go tow the girlfriend's car, broke down. Lovely day to be out on the rollback, towing in the rain. It was promised. I thought I'd share a little bit on this fine unit. So today, doing a little bit of maintenance on my '07 E350 wagon. That is a Mercedes-Benz E350. So just some maintenance stuff, and kind of wanted to show how interesting the air cleaner setup is. So it's the whole top of the motor, which is a cover, and the air filters. Great idea, Mercedes. So let's break into it. It's got some Torx screws here that we've got to remove to get to the air filter. Now this is why Mercedes service is so expensive, because everything is a major project. Oh, somebody's put fancy dancy reusable washable Johnsons in there. How cute is that? I did not know these were in there. But I'd already bought a set, so we will just go ahead and put some paper ones in, and we'll just hold on to those and wash them out at a later date. I did not know it had reusable ones in there. A lot of this maintenance stuff, a lot of guys are just scared to do it because it's a Mercedes or a BMW. At the end of the day, it's nuts and bolts. That's all it is, nuts and bolts. Wait, did I just put that in right? Yes, I did, didn't I? Not that difficult. And we're going to do a set of plugs on this thing as well. A set of plugs in it, just change the oil in it. And we've got a check engine light on for a cam code. It has a cam actuator for the variable timing. It is bad. I picked up a part for it, scanned it the other day when it popped on. It actually went back out, the light did. But I went ahead and ordered the new variable timing cam solenoid actuator. Very easy part to change. Not that terribly expensive. We'll do that as well. We got a set of plugs, and as you can see, I'm doing the air filters. Not very difficult. Pretty basic. I just don't know why a lot of guys are scared to work on these cars. At the end of the day, they're nuts and bolts. Just some are more difficult than others. But this isn't that hateful of a job. These cars are very prone to maintenance. They like to have their maintenance done. You let these things go on maintenance and they just turn into garbage. Oil changes, just your normal service, keep these things on the road. This thing's got 170,000. This is a daily driver for me. I drive it back and forth to work, which is about an hour drive each way now that I live at the beach. That's all I use it for. I come home Friday night, it gets parked in the driveway. I don't touch it till Monday morning. I got plenty of other cool things to drive. I bought this because it was good on gas and it's comfortable to ride in. I was driving a pickup truck back and forth, but I was lucky if the truck was getting 16 miles a gallon. And after about 2 weeks of that, I said, enough of this. We're gonna get something a little better on fuel. So now we're gonna move on to doing the plugs. Those are coil pack motors, coil packs. It's a little V6. And like I said, it just, some motors just have more garbage on them than others. This one has a lot of garbage on it. You got your air pump here. Got your oil filter right here. These are variable timing solenoids. You got exhaust and intake. This is a dual overhead cam motor. You know, it's pretty basic. They put the ECM right on top of here, which is a great spot. I would always mount it on top of the motor where it gets the hottest. That's where I would like to put it. You know, these things, you know, you either love them or you hate them. I'm not a big German car guy. I'm just a car guy in general. I do kind of gravitate more towards Ford trucks. But, you know, at the end of the day, I will own one of these before I own a Volkswagen or a late model GM car. Two things I will not own. If I buy a GM, I'm buying it to resell it. If I buy a Volkswagen, I'm buying it to resell it. Just, they ain't for me. They're for some people, they just ain't for me. So let's get a couple coil packs off and get some plugs out and take a look, see what they look like. We'll go ahead and get one of these coil packs off. I don't know when the plugs were last changed in this car. I haven't owned this car very long. So I figured I'd go ahead and maintain it, see what it looked like. Boot looks okay, nothing hateful looking there. At least this car is not hateful to do this on. These are all pretty easy to get to. I'll give that, give Mercedes some credit there. A lot of German cars, changing the plugs is a chore. This actually isn't too hateful. 6 more times and I'll be done. They don't look too hateful. They don't look like they've been in there terribly long. Let's see here. They don't look hateful. Looks like it's been running pretty well. But since I already bought a set, we'll just go ahead and throw a set in. All right, went ahead and checked the gap on all our plugs. Go ahead and insert our first plug down in there. Like I said, this isn't a difficult job. Most of your Iridium, all them high-end plugs, they come pre-gapped, but I still like to check them because you don't know if the box has been dropped or, you know, anything's possible. Now, I just do these by hand. I don't like to use any kind of power tools on them, with a chance of breaking them. Just kind of tighten them by feel. Now, next thing I'll do, some guys agree with this, some guys don't. I like to use a little bit of dielectric grease. I'll put a little dab in the end there, and then I'll put a little bit on the, I like to put a little bit on the inside of the connector. I just kind of smear it across there. That'll get down in there on the contacts and just hopefully maybe prevent a problem down the road. Plug our connector back in. Snaps. Put our bolts back in and tighten it down. Now we'll do this 6 more times and we'll have that part of the service done. Well, I've got the passenger side done, so now I'll move on to the driver's side. Just check the gap on the plugs. Like I said, they most of the time come pre-gapped, but I like to just check them. Just use a feeler gauge and just check the gap. This one's good. Just to make sure. You know, you don't have to go crazy with tightening these things up. Some people think you gotta tighten them to the moon like they do with an oil filter. Just snug, hand tight. There is an actual spec if you want to look it up, but if you've been doing it long enough, I've been at this game 30 some years. Probably have more hours in this business than most average techs. And the reason I say that, and I don't mean that, I'm not trying to be a smart ass. I'm not trying to be a know-it-all. I'm 51 years old. I've been turning wrenches since I was a young kid, before I even had a license. But when I was in my early 20s, like a dummy, I decided that I'd like to get some girl knocked up and have some kids. Dumb. So I've had child support since I was a young lad. And I've had to pay that and pay the piper. So I always had a day job and I always had a shop. And I have a shop now. As a grown man, I actually own this one, which is nice. I owned the last one that I started these videos in. But I always had a day job and always had to shop. And I've, for the last 30 years, and I can say 30 years because my daughter's 29, I work day and night. Pretty much till 10, 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. So I've been at this game a long time. I don't know everything, trust me. There's way too much to know in this business, and I learn something every single day. I work at a late model used car lot. Most of the stuff is 2 years old and then goes back. Maybe 3. It depends on what he buys. But I see a lot of late model cars, and I learn something new every single day. This variable timing stuff that's come out in the last 10 years, what a pile of garbage. If you've been a mechanic as long as I have, you look at that and go, what a pile of garbage. Give me a distributor and give me some basic fuel injection. Like that thing back there, how basic can it get? My kingdom for something like that every day. This late model stuff is a bear to work on sometimes, and it's hard to diagnose. Everything is electronic. Everything's controlled by electronic. It's terrible. It's just a terrible, terrible time to become a young lad and a mechanic. The tools you have to buy, the knowledge you need to know, you almost need to be an electrical engineer to work on this trash anymore. It's really sad. But back to our Mercedes. We'll go ahead and finish up this other side. We'll put our airbox back on. I'm not going to clean the throttle body today because I also have an intake runner code, and these things are known for a little diaphragm. Hold on a second, let me get it. I'll show you. A lot of late model cars have what's called intake runners, and it's a flap in the intake. It opens and closes. Some are controlled by a little electric motor. Some are controlled by a vacuum diaphragm that operates the linkage. Now, Mercedes is known for, again, knowledge that I really don't, I'd rather have more knowledge on something like that, but it is what it is. They are known to have this little arm that's operated by this vacuum diaphragm. This little arm is plastic. The replacement one is aluminum. The plastic breaks and then the flaps don't work. It sets a check engine light. I have a check engine light for that, but it requires pulling the intake, and since the girlfriend's car broke down today, I need to wrap this up so I can take a look at her car. So we'll save this for a later date. We have to pull the intake in order to do this job, so I'll clean the throttle body, I'll clean the intake, and the intake runners and all when I pull the intake, probably in a week or so. Car runs and drives fine. And sometimes the light comes on, sometimes the light goes out. So we'll address this problem. Hopefully, I don't know because I don't have the intake off, hopefully we don't have a problem with the actual runners. If I do, I got to buy an intake manifold, and it's like $600. It is what it is. It's the price of owning something like this. I'm not upset about it. So that's a job we'll save for later. Just to give you an idea where this thing's located. This thing is located. Let me get you here where you can see. Let me dial you in a little bit here. It won't let me work today. This is where our diaphragm is, and as you can see, you can't get to it at all. So the whole upper intake's got to be unbolted and taken off the engine. It's a little bit of a hateful job. What makes it so difficult is there's so much stuff to unplug, and you got to be really careful with taking these connectors off because they're plastic, and they've been under the hood since 2007. Hot, cold, hot, cold. If you watched when I did the sped up videos, when I you understand what I'm saying. I was having a little trouble getting the back plug off of the back ignition coil, so I left it alone and just pulled it out and flipped it around. You got to be careful when you're working on this older stuff with all these electrical connectors. They get brittle, and a lot of times they don't want to unplug. Your friend will be, these are some of your friends that you will have. They will be your best friends when you're working on stuff like this and you're trying to get electrical connectors apart. Pick and a very small screwdriver. And just take your time, and a lot of times you can take this pick and reach inside the connector and actually, some of the connectors you got to squeeze, you can slip this in there and actually move the little thing and get it off. I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of guys hear me say this, GM makes the worst electrical connectors I've dealt with. Again, I'd rather work on this Mercedes than a late model GM. Some guys love a GM, but to me, I think they're just garbage. I work on this stuff every single day. To me, GM just ain't got it. GM used to have it. They just ain't got it no more. They change the connectors constantly, and whatever plastic they use has got to be the most garbage plastic. And then they like to put a lock pin to lock the connector. So you have to take this lock out and then squeeze it and get it apart. Why do you need a lock on it? That thing don't make enough horsepower that it's going to shake the connector apart. Come on now, stop it, GM. So let me get at these other plugs, throw the air box back on. We'll go in with the scan tool. We'll reset our maintenance light. I think my scan tool will do it. I got to check, but hopefully I can go in and change the service interval that it was due for, and clear the codes, and we'll be good to go. So sit tight. Let me wrap this up, and then we'll go around and check the rest out. All right, now I got all the plugs done. Let's see if we can go in with the scan tool and clear the maintenance light and take a peek at our check engine light, which I already know is on, and I know what it's on for, but I'll just show you using the scan tool. So this tool has a wireless connector. You'll hear it beep once I plug it in. I'll get my fat fingers in there. I don't know if you can hear it beep or not. Bring it in. That's fine German engineering. All right. We're going to go in. Mercedes. You guys can see this or not. It's kind of difficult. Background noises. It's actually raining, so it might be a little difficult to hear today. We do automatically search. I already know that's in. It's reading the mileage from the VIN. Class. And we'll go in the control module. Let's read the fault code. And we got intake camshaft, which we already knew we had that. And then this one's actually stored. This is current and stored, which is our intake runner code, which we knew we had. That one I think keeps flip-flopping. Our camshaft one is back to stored, not current again. So the little actuator has a little pin on it that operates on a magnet, and it's probably sticking. Sometimes an oil change will fix that, sometimes. So today we're going to clear it. I just couldn't remember which one it was because it actually has 4 of those actuators, and all 4 of them are the same. I ordered the parts a couple weeks ago and I actually forgot what side it was on. So we're on the left intake side is the code we have. Now these code numbers are not P codes like normal because we're in the Mercedes. We're in on the Mercedes side. Now if I go in generic, it'll give me P codes. So we're going to go back and we're going to clear our fault codes for today. Our check engine light's been out for the last week. Popped on one day, then it went off, and it's been out since. Now let's see if I can go in and do a maintenance. Does not look like it's there. Sometimes the scan tool will not do that. Reset maintenance lights. I've had issues with this scan tool not doing that. Sometimes if I just back out altogether and I go up here to reset, it's got an oil reset, but I want to do a maintenance reset. It might not let me. It might just give me information on how to do it manually. And I'm actually thinking about updating the scan, getting a different scan tool than this one. For the simple fact, this thing has not been able to do certain vehicles that I think it should, and I've seen other scan tools do things that this scan tool I think should do. So I'm looking at a couple different options right now. The sad part is I have about $8,000 tied up in this thing. So to upgrade to something else, we're probably going to be in the same market again. So it's kind of sad that this thing's probably about 6-7 years old. It's saying it's software reset. Let's see if it'll do it. Confirm overall maintenance. That's the one we want to do. So somebody has put it, somebody has changed it to service days. It's not due till, but we know it's due and we've already done it now. So I'm not quite sure where we need to be. Won't let me do it. And that's the problem I've had with this tool here lately. Is it won't let you do some of it. But you get the idea. Some of these scan tools will let you reset the maintenance light. Some of them you have to go in manually. This one is not doing it today. It's doing a pain. So I'll have to look it up, see how to just get the maintenance light on the dash for the oil change intervals reset. Not a big deal. It doesn't really bother me that much driving the car. Just something else I'll have to figure out. But this thing's wrapped up for the day. We're going to get it off the lift and I guess bring the girlfriend's car in and see what happened to that thing. It still runs, but she's claiming, well, when she called me on the phone, it's blown up. It's blown up. I drove it on the rollback. It's a Volvo. 5-cylinder Volvo, and it feels like it's running on 4 cylinders. And when I loaded it on the truck, I still had it running. I could hear something snapping. I think we got a bad coil or something like that, because I can hear it arcing. Today it is raining. So let's get this thing out. Let's get that Volvo in and take a peek at that Volvo and see what happened today. All right, so I just pulled in the girlfriend's Volvo, and it ran pretty rough. Now, like I said, I just picked it up probably, I don't know, an hour and a half ago. When I loaded it on the truck, I could hear something snapping and cracking. Like a bad plug wire when it gets wet, you can hear it snapping. So I think we got misfire codes. Let's see what we got. Let's go, let's just go in generic, it'll be faster. I was waiting for it to do its thing. Sometimes going in generic takes a couple seconds because it's got to find what it, which system it wants to work under. It'll probably be the last one. 4 codes. Let's see what we got. Read vault code. We're just going to go generic. Cylinder misfire, number 3, evap. Oh, look at that. A cat code. We don't like that. Oh, we got a number 3 misfire. So let's see if we got a bad coil or what do we have? We're just worried about getting it running right. We're not going to worry about any of these other codes right now. So listen real close, you'll hear it. Every now and then she snaps. So let's get these covers off. I can hear it snapping every now and then. So let's get these covers off and take a look. She said she had plugs put in it a while ago, but this thing's got 325,000 miles on it. Anything's possible with this thing. My guess, bad coil. So let's get the covers off, take a peek. Today has been definitely not Ford truck day. Today's been foreign car day. Something a little different on the channel than normal. Normally we're doing Ford trucks and four-wheel drives and tow trucks. Today it's just all about normal daily driver stuff. Now, my girlfriend's got a couple lifted Jeeps. That's what she prefers, but she bought this car 6-7 years ago for like $1,200, and she drives this thing 4 hours sometimes north to the mountains. And this car doesn't owe her 29-cent Chinese money, I can tell you that right now. But she's definitely got some life out of it. We're going to see if we can't. Oh, look at that! So we got oil all up top here. So I bet it looks like somebody's put coil in here and here. They're cleaner. So we got number 3. Got air, which is a Volvo coil, which is probably 1,000,000 years old. So this is 1, 2, 3. There's 4, 5. This is a 5-cylinder. Most Volvos are 5-cylinder. This is not a turbo car. This is just a standard old Volvo. I actually did buy her another Volvo. I bought a little bit newer Volvo turbo car, but it's got a motor problem that we're going to dive into. But for today, we just want to get this thing running because she's in one of my pickups. So we can't have that. So let's get this coil out and take a look at it. Got the coil out of there. Don't really see any oil down in there. The boot looks okay. Usually when you get a lot of oil down in there, they'll fill the tubes up with oil and cause that misfire or burn the coil out as well. It does have a lot of moisture around the bottom of it here. My guess is it's probably just shot. It's original coil. We got 325,000 miles. I'm gonna say yeah. So I'm gonna run down the store and see if we can't find a coil for this turd and get it back on the road. It was funny, this morning she made breakfast and she was giving me a hard time about, hey, don't do nothing for me. So when I had to pick her up in a rollback, I said, looks like you gotta eat a little crow today because I'm out picking you up now in the rain. Hour after you left the house. Oops. It's all in good fun. We were just busting each other's balls. So let's go get a coil for this thing if somebody's got one in stock. That's the biggest thing. Not many people keep stuff like this in stock, so let's cross our fingers. Well, went down to the local AutoZone and got me a door last. Well, I'll tell you, they're really proud of their stuff. They put the big deal on it. Not a big fan of those parts stores, but it's Sunday. She needs a car to go back and forth to work Monday. If not, she's stuck driving one of my trucks, which is fine because she doesn't work that far from home, but she'd much rather have this car. So let's slap this bad boy on and see how it runs. All right, the moment of truth. Let's see how it sounds. It's going to have all 5 cylinders back. Beautiful thing. Don't you just love getting that phone call? It blew up. It's on the side of the road. And I'll bet you, she's been wanting me to check the transmission fluid, which I'm going to do that right now. But she's been telling me for the last week or so that she thinks the trans is slipping. And I'll bet you this thing's been misfiring for the last 2 weeks or a week or whatever it's been. And that's what she's feeling. So that was an easy fix. We actually got some stuff done today. Mercedes, I used it to go pick up the parts here just a few minutes ago, and it ran absolutely fine, which it was running fine before. We're going to button this up. We'll go ahead and clear the codes anyway. I know those other ones will come back. And then we're going to bring the Mini Cooper in. And I think this week we're going to pop the motor out of it one night this week and see what's going on with this. So let me wrap this up and we'll drag that turd in here. So I took the girlfriend's Volvo for a ride and it's back to normal. I'm going to bet that the misfire she was thinking was a trans going bad is actually just a misfire. So it runs pretty good. So I brought the Mini Cooper in and I'm going to pull the motor. Now what happened to this thing is we've got number 2 exhaust valve is stuck open. The rocker arm fell out and I'm not quite sure as to why it did this. I took this thing back apart in the beginning of summer. I actually got this car from I work at a used car lot during the day. It's my day job. The owner's son, he buys and sells stuff on the side for flips. He bought this as a flip. It's actually a nice little car. I've owned quite a few of these little Mini Coopers, and I'm kind of a fan of them, even though they are kind of a jerk to work on. This one is a lot easier to work on than my last Cooper. My last Cooper was a Cooper S, which was supercharged, belt-driven supercharger, and they are a nightmare to work on. This one is just a standard old Cooper with a 6-speed trans. And the only reason I got this car was I live here at the beach and I wanted something cheap on gas. My last Mini Cooper was extremely phenomenal on gas. The only reason I got rid of the car was it was automatic and the trans started acting up. I bought a second Mini Cooper and I was going to take the 2 and do something with them, but I decided to sell them because where I used to live and where I work was only 4 miles. So I was driving what I would love to drive every day is an OBS, such as my Bronco. But living 40 miles from my job each way, that ain't gonna work. So I decided to, I own this thing, I gotta fix it. One way or the other, I gotta fix the car. It ain't worth nothing the way it is. Fixed is worth something, but I thought fixed, I'll just drive it. It's got 100 on the clock. It's not hateful. It just needs whatever's wrong with it. So these things aren't known for the valve seats falling out of the head. That could be what's wrong with it. They are known to carbon up really bad. I did pull the exhaust manifold. Let me see if I can bring it down here and look. I've got the exhaust manifold moved away from the head. The exhaust ports are not very big on these things. They're maybe the size of a silver dollar, if that. And they were closed up pretty small with carbon. It could be carboned up. It might not be. Either which way, at this point, I've tried everything I can to get the valve to free up. It will push down, but it will not come back up. So the rocker arm fell off. Obviously, it's got no compression, so it's got a misfire. But since it's got 100 on the clock, and these things are known to have some time and chain problems as well, I don't know anything about the car. I do know that when it was together, I could yard drive it because it ran somewhat. The clutch and all felt okay. But at this point, with 100 on the clock, it is oily. I'm just going to pull the motor. It's a lot easier to work on. I got to pull the head, so it means I got to pull the time chain and all apart. So at this point, I'll pull the head, see what's wrong with it, and I'll probably put all new time and chains and guides in it, reseal the motor, look at the clutch, do all that while it's apart. It's kind of why I decided to pull the motor. It's easier to work on the stand than it is in this little tiny hole that it's got. So I'm going to pull this motor, get it on an engine stand, get the head off of it, and see what happens. So I will share that in upcoming videos. It's getting kind of cold out. I don't know what happened. The temperature dropped like crazy today. It wasn't this bad this morning. But I think I'm done. It is foosball day, but I'm not into watching foosball. I'd rather work on this than watch foosball. So look, holla at your boy. Catch me on the next one. I'll get the motor out of this week. I'll try to remember to video some stuff as I'm pulling it apart, and I'll share what I find. Because I need to get the motor out of it so I can get it out of the bay, because I got other things I got to work on. But I figured a few nights this week I could pick at it, get it apart, get the car to where it rolls, and I can roll the car outside and work on other things. So look, holla at your boy. Keep it real. Let's catch me on the next one.